This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Mark Takano. He is a member of the U.S. Congress. We are in his district right now. We're in Riverside, California.
You are.
And I thank you
We
for
are.
inviting us into your district. I want to speak with you about an issue of just grave importance.
Yes.
I was reading one of your releases and I was very touched by what you wrote. I am well aware that this may be the most important issue I ever faced during my time representing the people of the Inland Empire. Whether one is for or against the Iran deal, it is clear that Mark Takano has taken this issue very seriously.
Yes.
Why? Why do you believe that this is the most important issue I may ever face?
Well, I think there are dimensions of war and peace here. A decision to walk away from this deal, I think increases the likelihood of military intervention.
Why?
Because Iran right now is only a few months away from having enough fissile material to produce a nuclear weapon. And we walk away from a deal which holds out the promise of that breakout time being extended to a full year.
How does that work? Explain why if we walk away it's 2 months, if we sign it's a year.
Well, if we walk away, we're supposedly under the ability to produce a better so-called other or better deal. But we're going to do that without the ability to put international sanctions in place. Right. The other global powers that came together for the very specific reason of preventing Iran from gaining a nuclear bomb were on board with those international sanctions for that very reason. They all believe that this accord that's been negotiated achieves the purpose of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And they're going to just view if the American government, the United States walks away as unreasonable, and getting a better deal, I think is going to be very difficult I don't think it's possible.
To the extent that you're aware, is there the same level of vitriol in the other P5+1 nations over this deal as there is in America?
I'm not aware of that. From what I know, all the other partners are behind this agreement, and they all believe. And look, we needed their support to get Iran to come to the bargaining table. And thanks to the diplomatic efforts and the soft exercise of soft power of the United States government and its Department of State, they brought together France, Germany, England, Russia and China together, and it's and beyond that, there are many other nations that participated, Japan and others who could have bought oil from Iran, who didn't.
If I may, and I ask you this because you did mention it in your announcement of support for the deal, you are of Japanese descent.
I am.
And you have relatives who lived in Japan in 1945.
Yes.
Those are the only human beings that have experienced the power of a nuclear weapon. Obviously, you were not alive then, but I'm sure your family has discussed with you the horrors.
Actually, yes, my family didn't discuss it with me. In fact,
that says a lot. That says a lot.
My family, we were all Americans. My parents and grandparents went through the Japanese-American internment experience, and I think for a long, long time there was even a reluctance to kind of acknowledge that we had a connection to Japan. And it wasn't until I went to Japan in 2001, after 9/11, that I connected with my relatives. And even then, it was a relative who had immigrated after the war, and I hadn't even fathomed that this particular woman that lived in Anaheim and worked for Disneyland had been a survivor of the atom bomb.
Was she from Hiroshima, Nagasaki?
She was, yeah. My grandfather and my grandmother, my paternal grandparents, were from the Hiroshima area.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so they lived in the outskirts of the city. It's very mountainous.
Right.
In an air town called Itsukaichi.
Okay.
And on the day of the atom bomb being dropped on Hiroshima, my cousin, my father's cousin,
Got it.
her mother kept her home. and said, you know, look, you've been sick the last few days. Normally, the middle school students had civic duty. They were to clean up the debris of a redevelopment project.
Sure.
They were widening the roads in Hiroshima because they knew that some attack was imminent. So they were widening the roads. The traditional building material of Japan is like wood. So it was very vulnerable to a bombing. But young children, their job, since they couldn't work in factories, was to clean up.
And this is the woman who lives in Anaheim now.
She lived in Anaheim and still has a home there, and she went back to Japan in the late 90s, and she lives in Japan today.
So what happened to her on that day?
Well, fortunately her mother kept her home.
So she survived.
She survived, but all of her middle school classmates perished. Nearly all of them, not nearly all of them. But they were all from a girls' middle school. And there was actually a memorial in Hiroshima to all the middle school kids and middle school teachers who were out early in the morning cleaning things up. They were at ground zero, ground zero, and they perished.
So let me ask you, how did that knowledge inform your decision on the Iran deal?
Well, oddly enough, it didn't make me a kumbaya pacifist. I thought immediately of, well, what if a country like Iran gets the bomb? That was one of the first thoughts that entered my head. It's like, and I believe, I really do believe that any person who is who's a candidate for office of a country that has a nuclear capacity, they should at some time visit Hiroshima just to understand and confront the power of that weapon.
Some of the concerns, though, of the opponents focus upon verification.
Yes.
There has been an AP report that Iran will self-verify. That report was or was not contradicted. It's really hard to know. Are you confident that verification will be at a level that we can know that we're safe?
The framework is there for verification. This is not an agreement based on trust. Iran has not become an ally. And so we're not, this agreement is not predicated on trust. It is predicated on verification. It's going to be up to this president and this Congress to ensure that the verification protocols are in place.
What about IAEA?
The IAEA is a UN agency. It is collectively funded by the member nations. And of course, the United States has always had a disproportionate responsibility in funding the UN. And we need to make sure that we fund, along with the other partners, the operations, the inspection operations.
Who will verify that?
Well, the AEI, the International Atomic, I get that mixed up.
IAEA.
The IAEA is the monitoring agency. They are accorded under this agreement continuous access to the declared sites. The declared sites that we know historically have been where nuclear research has gone on. They have to repurpose, the Iranians have to repurpose the current sites to peaceful purposes. For undeclared sites, the IAEA has, we can challenge, the United States or anybody of the member states can challenge Iran if we think that there is something going on in an undeclared area. Iran, within 24 hours, has to let us see it. If they object, there's a 15-day, not a 24-day, a 15-day dispute resolution period, at which, on the 16th day, the United States and her allies can say, hey, jig is up, gotta let us in. If you don't, snapback provisions go into place. Russia and China cannot veto.
His name is Mark Takano.
Yes.
He is a member of the U.S. Congress. My name is Brad Pomerance. This is Charter Local Edition.